I think of email marketing as being something that is much more like low, like you said, top of the funnel, but low ticket offer. Here's my $47 course. Here's my 27, whatever, right? Like every email that I get from like an online entrepreneur seems to kind of have this like quick and easy buy it now quality to it instead of the more deeply researched, lots of information, lots of links, lots of value. And so those value led emails obviously are time intensive. I think there's obviously space for both. But for example, like the branding projects that we're working on are the budgets are anywhere from like $10,000 to $50,000. That is a long nurture series. And so I think if I had to diagnose my own stuff, is that segmenting the list would be step number one. But what else as far as like a sales and relationship building and nurturing over the email list for service-based businesses is different from product-based offers? Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. We're going to talk email today, everyone's favorite topic. I have to welcome to the pod, Kieryn. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk email today.
I'm glad you are, because as a marketer, email is my least loved child of all my marketing channels. So I can't wait for you to just school me on everything I could be doing better. We'll kind of dive in first by having you share with everyone who you are, what you do, and who you help.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Kieryn. I support founders with their email marketing. So anywhere from DIY, where I help you learn a little bit about email marketing and how to make the most of it, how to optimize it for conversions, as well as all the way to done for you services, where I help from ideation, strategy, all the way through execution and implementation. And I hear you on email marketing being the least loved child. I think I don't know. I don't want to offend any middle children, but it is kind of the middle child of, of marketing.
Totally. Well, we're going to get into all of that, but I'm so curious to know if when you were a little girl that when you thought about growing up, did you think that you wanted to be an email marketing mastermind? Was this always the
No,
dream?
it wasn't actually. Yeah, I didn't. And, when we were growing up, social media wasn't even a
Of
thing. And that
course.
was one
Yeah.
of the first things that I did when I started my career in marketing. But yeah, no, email was not the thing that I was thinking, oh, this is going to be long lasting. This is going to be like a really solid platform for for me to work on. But here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us about those early days. Like, what gets you excited about email? What kind of job experience? You said you have some social media experience. Obviously, branding is part of email. Talk to me about what got you to where you are now.
So I started in marketing kind of, right at the rise of social, when social was new and all the young people in the workforce were kind of relegated really to to social. And I love it. I think there's always a place for it. I don't think it's the only option, which I think a lot of people, when they just think of marketing, they're like, oh, social media, that makes sense. And email kind of gets forgotten and deprioritized. And that was something I learned really early on when I first worked. The first job I had, it was great. I learned a lot because it was a startup of me and just one other person, the
Whoa.
founder. And so I kind of had to do everything that was not executive work, right? And I realized that email had so much more power for my results, the work that I was doing to connect with our clients or our customers. And I really fell in love with email, and I kind of preach the gospel of it as much as I can because it really has so many more capabilities than people think.
Okay, let's talk about those capabilities. I know you've got a range of services. You've got your DIY, you've got your done with you, done for you services. What is the most common misconception of someone who, like, they know they have to do email marketing? Where's that roadblock? Why are they kind of hitting their head against the wall before they hire someone like yourself? Because I think it is one of the like more unseen channels, right? That's,
Mhm.
I know where I struggle with it, but talk to me about some of the clients that come your way and how or what they describe feeling stuck on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest barrier that I experience when people think about email marketing is they don't want to sound salesy, right? They don't want to spam their audience or, make them feel like, oh, I'm just selling all the time, which is actually the exact opposite of what email marketing should be, right? Email marketing is all about storytelling. It's all about nurturing your audience. I think a lot of people think of it as more top of funnel when it's
Yeah.
actually more like middle bottom funnel, because at that point, people learn a little bit more about who you are and then they give you their email, which is just an open invite to give them more information.
Yeah.
And it's kind of how you give them the information. My biggest thing is always listening to your customers. And if you don't know, like, ask, just ask them, I think email is a great place to just like continue to foster those customer relationships.
Yeah, and build conversation, get that real qualitative and quantitative feedback about what it is that you're doing. I mean, you're speaking to my pain point, which is I built my email list, as you can imagine, as many people did with the Jenna Kutcher of it all, which is like offer a million freebies. And so I offered so many freebies. So I built a list of like 3,000 people that were very primed to get free things from me, but weren't really primed to pay me money. So there was like this disconnect between the list that I built and the value then that was coming through to them via the email newsletter. And so it just became something I neglected. I just absolutely fell off from doing it. Where now I have some help. I've got a copywriter on my team that's helping me, and we're going to work together. And my goal for next year is just one newsletter a month. I was like, let's not over engineer it. Let's just get back into consistently delivering high value things via email before we add all these bells and whistles. What's your strategy for someone who has let their email list die on the vine?
You are speaking the story of, I think, gosh, 80 to 90% of founders out
Yeah.
there, right? Where
Yep.
they maybe haven't even started growing their list, or they grew one and then they just let it sit there, which I'm like, oh, it hurts my heart. I'm like, all those people ready to hear from you. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, my biggest thing is, and I love that you just said this, is consistency. What can
Yeah.
you be consistent with, right? Because I think there's also not a lot of merit to like there are some people who I think around 2020, like right when the pandemic started, they were like,
Yeah.
okay, we're ready to be at home. I have more time to sit down and, figure this email marketing thing out. And so they were kind of sending like weekly emails. And then the world started to open up again. They were like, I can't keep up with this. And so they just kind of dropped off. And I'm like, oh no, that's almost worse than not starting, right? Because you can't keep up with that level of that cadence, right? So I love that you said just start at once a month. I mean, I don't recommend staying at once a month. if
Of
if
course.
you if you can
Of course.
increase, the better, but if you can only handle once a month, like start there. Just start
Start
there.
there. Yeah, talk to me too about the difference between I think of email marketing as being something that is much more like low funnel, like you said, top of the funnel but low ticket offer. Here's my $47 course, here's my 27 whatever, right? Like every email that I get from like an online entrepreneur seems to kind of have this like quick and easy buy it now quality to it instead of the more deeply researched, lots of information, lots of links, lots of value. And so those value led emails obviously are time intensive. I think there's obviously space for both. But for example, like the branding projects that we're working on are the budgets are anywhere from like $10,000 to $50,000. That is a long nurture series. And so I think if I had to diagnose my own stuff, is that segmenting the list would be step number one. But what else as far as like a sales and relationship building and nurturing over the email list for service based businesses is different from product based offers?
That's a great question. I mean, first things first is that you don't have to overcomplicate it. I think a lot of people, marketing changes all the time. So I think a lot of people are having some notions about email marketing that just aren't true anymore, that it has
Right,
to be this long form content, or it has to be, packed with
right.
quote unquote value, which you can deliver without it taking a lot of time. One of my favorite service based newsletters is one sentence long.
Tell me
It's
about it.
one sentence long, one link in it. It's such a clear call to action. And I get excited. I think it's a daily newsletter. I get excited to see it in my inbox because I
Wow.
know that like that's all I need. That's all I need to know, right? And you're building that trust. You're like, I don't need you to spend a lot of time looking at this. Click it if you want. Don't click it if you don't. Here's what I have to share with you. And it really could be that simple. You don't have
Simple.
to overcomplicate it.
Huh. Okay. I hadn't even thought about that before because, again, our services are like brand design, social media marketing, rebranding, web, merch, digital, like all of these more involved contracts, right? So I'm always thinking of the newsletter as a place to like recap the projects that we have done instead of sell the future projects. But now you're saying if we make it that simple, like there could be a place for both. So beyond just doing a newsletter, what are other ways that you've seen service-based business owners really tend to their list and continue to grow in different ways, right? Like in different inventive ways like that.
hmm I mean, it really is about like talking to your audience. So there are not a lot of things in any aspect of marketing, but especially with email marketing, that I'm going to say one size fits all because your audience is unique. Even if you have basically the exact same service as someone else, you're reaching the same audience, you're niching down to the same people, and you're offering the same kind of service. Your audiences could be incredibly different and they could want incredibly different things. So, definitely paying attention to what it is that your customers want. And you can learn that through your analytics. And you can also learn that through just talking to them. And, like you
Yeah.
said earlier,
Yeah.
starting that conversation, right?
Yeah, let's circle to analytics. A lot of the email platforms will serve you all kinds of analytics that even as a marketing person, I get overwhelmed by because I'm like, I don't understand what this totally is. Can you walk through or can you tell us what you walk through clients with to numbers to pay attention to and numbers that aren't as relevant?
Yeah. So, I will say, I don't think numbers are the end all be all. I think they're
Interesting.
great for informing you, but there's a lot of nuance to it. Like, for example, your open rate could be a factor of so many different things beyond just like, is your subject line interesting, right? Is the send time the right time? Somebody could just, they saw it and then they forgot about it later that day, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many just unique situations. And so I say take it with a grain of salt, but it does give you an idea of like what kind of content is more popular, right, with your audience, or what is going to help convert them language wise, or content strategy format wise even. And so yes, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, but don't take the numbers and be like, oh my gosh, this was such a terrible newsletter, when in
Right.
fact, it's just another place to connect with your audience. And then that connection fosters more trust, right? What was that?
Right.
You said in a different episode, kids need to be exposed to like the
Yes.
food
New
16
foods.
times, or whatever it is.
Yep.
Like, it's the same thing. I think it used to be the rule of 7 with
Yep.
advertising, right? You had to see it. I mean, with the short attention span and how ads are these days, like we get served tens, hundreds of thousands of ads a day, right? And so you need to, like, that number has jumped up. I don't know what the exact one is, but like it's anywhere from like 40 to 60 times now that you
Right.
have to see something before you're like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Let me take action on
I
that."
did
And
want
so,
that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think, I'm like, did I answer your question at all?
You did. No, it's the whole idea of repetition and like knowing what metrics. I think with social media, that's where my brain is trained from, right? Like this is my background. It's like I can see the difference between someone's follower number versus the number of people that are engaged versus the comments and kind of figure out how much of their audience is plugged into what they offer, right? And I can look at my own analytics on social media and track the difference between followers versus comments versus DMs versus conversions and how that whole thread happens, that customer journey. With email, I think it feels like a lot of effort for not the most return. And I think that's why I've neglected it for so long. And so we just did our first email newsletter of the entire year in November. And I called out in the subject line, this is the first newsletter of 2025. And then I wrote in the message, like, I'm going to be honest, I've neglected you, my dear email list, like kind of like in the lady whistledown kind of way of like, this
Ooh.
isn't my plan, but kind of like, I wanted to call out the fact that I haven't been in your inbox. And I actually got people responding, being like, oh, I love your newsletters. Like they always, I know you don't send them that often, but I always look forward to them. I was like, okay, great. Because I thought I was just talking into the void. And so I think it's easy because it's not a public facing
Mm.
marketing channel in that way. Like it is personal in a sense, but hey, talk about an insurance policy against everybody who's taking social media breaks. Like someone might delete their Instagram. People are not deleting their email.
Right. And the
What
other
do you
thing
think about
of like, you never know when Instagram goes down or TikTok might
that?
get banned or,
Yep.
whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And email, it's like people check their inboxes every day. People are always going to be using email to connect with each other. And so it's a great way to not just land in people's inboxes, but do, I think, exactly what you did in the example you just shared, which is just like have a casual conversation with
Yeah.
people. I think
Yeah.
email has also shifted a lot in that it used to be like all capital title subject
Yeah.
lines, that kind of thing, and now it's more like this is how a sentence is actually structured in a conversation, that kind of a
Yes.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does, I think, similar to a podcast as a medium, like it has that kind of personal quality. It's kind of it has that in your ear, in your inbox. This is for you. This message is meant for you kind of vibe to it, which I think
Mhm.
is reassuring. Is there a client project that you've worked on recently, or maybe just a favorite client of yours that you can think of where you helped them really think differently about the email marketing?
Yeah, so I had a really awesome client a few years ago. I can't even remember how many years ago now. And they were sort of like a skincare, body care, dry brushing, that kind of thing. And we did a Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign for them. We crafted a 12-day sort of campaign, and I really essentially like streamlined and templatized. I know people are like, oh, template, like that scares me. But actually, that's another part of the consistency is that everything's formatted really similarly. And so people know what to expect when they get into their inbox. Do you know what I mean? Versus like, I'll open it up and I have no idea what she's going to tell me, right, in this email. And then you have things to look forward to, like, okay, once a week or once a month or, whenever it is, I'm going to get a section on some branding education. I'm going to get a
Sure, sure.
section on like podcast episodes to listen to. And then
Yeah,
so kind of standardizing it in a way that not only makes it easy for you, but like kind of takes the surprise out of email and
sure,
just build a little bit more of that familiarity, which I don't think people
sure.
prioritize.
Yeah, so thinking to the Black Friday, Cyber Monday with the skincare brand that you worked on with the templatized, like we do this on the social media front, right? Like we have a campaign, we have a campaign scope, we have a campaign SOP that says 4 days before the launch, we post the teaser, and then we post the behind the scenes, and then we post this, and then we announce, and then the shop is open, and then UGC. Like we have this recipe, and we've been able to work with that with some of our clients really consistently, and it takes a lot of the mental workload off of you so that you really are just changing the variables that need to change so that you have that shell of consistency. Okay, entrepreneurs, this one is for you. You know, I'm all about making your brand work for you, and this is where Sticker Giant comes in. They get it. Whether you're a small business, a creative freelancer, or someone just starting out, Sticker Giant wants to help you tell your stories with custom stickers and labels. They really make your products look pro, your packaging pop, and your brand stick in people's minds, literally. So if you're ready to take your brand to the next level, visit stickergiant.com and become part of the KMA community by using code KMA Podcast 25 at checkout on stickergiant.com to get 25% off your first order. See how they can help you bring your ideas to life. You definitely won't regret it. Sticker Giant, your partner in creating brag-worthy branding. What is your take on visuals heavy email marketing versus plain text email marketing? Because I've also seen brands kind of toggle between the two. Where do you think each one fits in kind of, I know you said not one size fits all, but
Sure.
do you have a preference, number one? And do you have any interesting insights to share about why or how someone might do one over the other?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is always just test. You're not really going to know until you test it, right? And don't just test it once, like test it a few times at different times, that kind of thing. Cause it could depend on, again, like I said before, a number of factors. The weather wasn't great that day. Amazon Web Services was down. Like, I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen, right? But what I will say is if you do go the more design heavy route, which I don't not like. It's not what I
Yeah.
would prefer, but
Yeah.
it fits other folks' brands more than it fits mine.
Sure.
But when I do see it, the thing that I get worried about is that people are designing these beautiful emails in Adobe, in Canva, and wherever, and then they drop one image like of the whole email into the platform, whether it's Klaviyo, whether it's Kit, whether it's Flowdesk, and then you only have one place that people are clicking, and so you don't
Yeah.
actually know like where in the email people are clicking. You're not actually learning a lot about what your audience wants. And so if you're going to do that, I would say break it up into the different sections. So you have an image file for each, let's say you have three sections for each of the three sections. So you know where people are clicking in the email. Otherwise, it's just going to be one click for the whole thing. So that's my biggest.
How does yeah, how does that affect your ability to search through email too, right? Because I've got to imagine if you've got all of your text that's on top of an image that's in a PNG or a JPEG that you've then loaded into your MailChimp, your ConvertKit, your whatever, the Klaviyo, that then doesn't that impact how people can also come back to your information? Like, if most of us are using Gmail, right? Like, we now have Gemini that's helping read all of our emails for us at the top of the inbox. I feel like it would affect, similar to a website, like it would affect the actual functionality of your message.
It does do that. And it also, I think people don't think about it actually affects the load time too, if your files are too big, right? Because beautifully designed emails, I don't think people always think about, oh, it's a huge, at least one file size that's takes a long time to load. And you know how impatient people are these days. If it doesn't load right away, I'm not opening it and I'm definitely not clicking on it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I think just keeping these things in mind is important, but also just at the end of the day, if you're like, Kieryn, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm like, if it works for you,
If it works for you,
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah,
Don't let me slow you down. Don't let me slow
exactly.
you down. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I feel really like the email thing, I know I've slept on it. Like I said, I can talk from my own experience of like having built the list on a bunch of freebies, not doing any good segmentation. I've totally neglected. I used to have like a full-blown welcome series for people that filled out the contact form. How much of email marketing do you like to introduce those tools, like the automation tools and the sequences and all of those, abandoned cart, things like that, versus just focus on deliver high quality content in like a more newsletter or timely once a week, once every 2 week type basis?
hmm So my first thing is get your welcome series in order,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because if people are going to give you their email, you don't want to send them to purgatory and you don't want them to forget that they signed up for your
Or
newsletter,
forget who you
right?
are. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it this way. Do you remember what you had for dinner last night versus a week ago?
Ooh, good point. Okay.
Right. And so people
Heard.
are a little concerned about my thing is like set up a welcome series. If you can only do one email, if you only have the bandwidth to set up one is a great place to start. I would definitely recommend a minimum of three. And that's the first one right when someone signs up, right? Because it's top of mind. They just gave you their email. And that's kind of where you can deliver your lead magnet. And then the second one, the next day. And that's where you talk a little bit more about the problem that your potential clients or customers might have and how your service or offering solves that, right? And
Okay.
then the third one, the very next day. Again, remember, what did you have last week versus what did you have last night, right? So you kind of want to have yourself be top of mind for these customers, for this audience. And then from there, I think thinking about, yes, abandoned cart and your post purchase and all of that, that's great. But if you're like, oh, I don't have the capacity for that, that's okay too. Just start with like something basic and something that could just be your V1, your version 1. It doesn't have to be your final version, right? And then from there, thinking about, okay, now that I have this audience, sure, it could be nurturing them to your lower ticket offers. And I don't think you need to jump right out the gate with your higher ticket offers, right? Like you
Sure, sure,
want
sure,
to
sure.
nurture them. How would you foster a friendship, right? How would you foster a new sort of relationship with someone? And that's to get to know them and let them get to know you, right? And so just like applying those pretty simple relationship dynamics into your actual content strategy, how you're sharing more about your services and how it can help them. And it doesn't have to be salesy, it could literally be an example of a previous client that you worked with,
Sure,
right? And their
sure,
journey and how they
sure.
found you and da 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 da. Because I can guarantee you, people just want to see themselves in your marketing, right? They just want to see that
Yeah.
you get where they're struggling and you get that they need help and you want to help them. So just do that.
Yeah. I think that that brings up a good point because I can think of the email newsletters that I'm subscribed to, and the ones that immediately turn me off are the ones that almost feel exploitative of the struggle. Like, yes, I want to be seen by their struggle, but then you also sometimes get these emails that are like, "Are you at rock bottom?" And you're like, "Okay, unsubscribe." Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of messaging and a lot of I think this is true of entrepreneurship in general and like business in general, of striking the right balance between positioning yourself as a and this is where I fall. Is like, I want you to want to work with me. I don't want you to feel like you can only work with me and no one else. I don't want you to feel like you have to work with me in order to be successful because that's just not the truth. The reality is like I want you to want to work with me. I'm a projector, so like people have to come and they have to I want them to I want to invite them to the space, but I'm not going to force anyone to stay. So
Yeah.
how do you strike that balance with email? Because I feel like email again, it's this weirdly, for me, vague, amorphous thing of like, I'm talking to all these people that I don't even know exactly how to help them because I don't know what's going on with them.
Mm, mm.
And maybe it's because I haven't asked.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just answered your own question because I think honestly, email is not that different from social when it comes to
That's
content
true.
strategy. You know what I mean? Like, and
That's
my
true.
other thing is like to simplify your life, repurpose your content. Oh
Ooh,
my
let's talk about that.
gosh.
Mhm.
Yes, people are like, "Oh, I have to come up with a new newsletter. I have to come up with a new social post. I have to come up with a new video of whatever this that." And I'm like, it should all be in the same ecosystem and it should all be feeding into each other because ultimately we want people to find us. We want them to hear what it is we have to say and we probably have said it before, but we're going to say it again, right? And then we're just going to continue to like bring them farther down into that funnel kindly,
Yes,
gently,
of course.
without,
Inviting them.
yes,
Yeah,
and not being like, here's a disaster scenario that you can
sure.
avoid. Like, I mean, look, if that's your brand, do what you got
Right.
to do.
Do
But
you
I do think, just to your point, there's definitely a way to just gently like cradle them into, oh, okay, this problem came up for me. I remember that in that email.
Yes.
I'm going to go
Yes.
back and learn a little bit more about those services, right?
Yes. Yes. Positioning yourself as the resource.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. As we're heading into a new year, exciting. How often are you going back and kind of auditing what's working and what's not working when it comes to email?
Oh,
Like those welcome sequences, those conversion rates, those A/B tested subject lines. Like I am the kind of person that I only work on redesigning my website between Christmas and New Year's because I know no one's bothering me during that time. So
mm,
I have like full creative control to like get done what I want to get done. And I have to keep telling myself that because otherwise, I mean, I've got to imagine email similar to website is it can be an infinity project. Like you could get so granular and so in the weeds about it. But for yourself and for your clients, how often do you go back and kind of either wipe the slate clean, reconsider, audit, kind of measure what's working and what's not?
yeah, I'm a clean as you go kind of girl.
Yeah.
So every single newsletter that gets sent out, every single thing that we do, I provide a report on it. I track the analytics. Again, I don't think it's the end all be all, but I
Right.
do like to have a temperature of where things are, right? I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
important. And so making sure that, we're tracking those things as we go. And if you're like, I can't do that as we go, maybe quarterly. Let's do like a
Yeah.
quarterly email marketing party, let's call it. And we
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through and we understand what's working for our welcome series, what's working for any of our other automations or not, adjusting as we need to. And then also, I would say at the very least once a year, going through and cleaning your list. And by that, I mean getting rid of the dead weight, the people who are not opening, who are not clicking. And a lot of the platforms these days, you pay per subscriber, right? So
Yeah.
if there are like a bunch of people on your list that are never going to open and are never going to give you their money, get rid of them, make room for a better list, and that helps your reputation, your sender reputation.
Sure.
It
Sure.
prevents you from landing in spam boxes because you don't have this huge percentage of your list that isn't even opening your emails, right?
Okay.
So
So that's the first thing I need to do, it sounds like.
yes, yes. So like at the
Clean
end
it
of,
out.
well, the first thing you need to do is start sending some emails so people can get
Yes.
engaged. Because
True.
right
True.
now
True. True.
I think a lot of your list might not be engaged in the last 90
Agree.
days because there's not a lot that happened in the
Uh-huh.
last 90
Uh-huh.
days, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um and then helping them, just getting them out of the list. I have so many people who are terrified of unsubscribes. I personally love an
Love it.
unsubscribe. I love them so
Thanks for getting
much.
out of the way.
Exactly. I'm like, the
Yeah.
trash is taking itself out. I mean, no offense.
Yeah.
None of you are trash.
Yes,
You're
yes,
all
yes,
great.
yes, yes, of course.
But essentially, they're like seeing themselves out, right? And I'm like, okay, great. Now I have more time to bring someone in who I can actually build a relationship with, that wants to build a relationship with me as well. So, yeah, cleaning your list, making sure to do that at
Mm.
least once a year. So, maybe at the end of the year, if you haven't been tracking your analytics throughout the year, just doing sort of a quick audit,
Email
a quick
party.
an email party, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And just seeing like, okay, I'm going to go into my platform, I'm going to look at everything that happened this year, and I'm going to see, what kind of emails got opened, what kind of content got clicked on, what did people reply to, what did people respond to, which email brought in the most sales, that kind of thing,
Sure.
just to see kind of an overview, a wrap, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly. And so doing that and making sure that we just have an understanding of where our audience is at, and then going from there is a great place to actually start the new year.
I think that's such good advice across everything. Like, I think everyone's in a little bit of like an audit and reset mode going into the new year. When it comes to email, what trends or innovations or tech or things have you excited for 2026, if any?
Ooh, what trends? Honestly, I'm not a super like trend chaser or
Sure.
this is gonna work for you, because again, it's like if it works for you, it may work for someone else, but again, you have
Totally.
to try. And so my thing is, year after year, I don't know if this is gonna be a boring answer, but it's just listening to your customers.
Yeah.
Just listen to
Yeah.
them. And when I say ask and listen, I don't mean like ask to foster engagement and increase those
Totally.
numbers and whatever,
Totally.
but actually hear them. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
these are the people that are experiencing your product or service, or they're experiencing the pain point that your product or service is trying to help, and they're giving you their real-time feedback. And so, whether you like it or not, because there are some things that I'm like, oh, I did not need to hear that. I did not want to hear want to hear that at all. But it's coming from a really honest place, right? And so, yeah, I think that's my. Can I start a trend? Was that an option?
Please.
Like
Yes.
my
No, you're sounding like me when I talk to my clients, which is stop guessing what your people want and ask them.
yes,
Ask how you can help them. They
right.
know that you have something that they don't. So just ask, how can I help you? What would help get this to move faster? What would help this to be smoother, to be less stressful for you? And that's always served me really well with our retainer clients is like, okay, what are we doing well and what can we do better at? Like, where can we help more? And being really, again, open to that and being also open to the fact that like they may suggest something that you're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. But one of my clients has an apparel brand for dental hygienists. very niche, very random. It's
Interesting.
called Dental Hygiene Nation. And she's always trying to guess what they're going to want. And I said, would you please just ask? I was like, could you just make a survey and say, would you like this on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt? And let them tell you what they want. Because if then they're invested in the outcome, whether or not they're a customer or not, they're at least invested in the fact that they felt like their voice was heard and that the product
Yes.
that they wanted was made. So there's a lot of that. And I think that too, with like our clients that have travel businesses and other product based, an events based business, ask your people what they want and then basically position yourself as the answer to their question. Be like, oh, you wanted this? Here it is.
Yeah,
Like, what a cool thing.
It's the question that you pose to them,
Yes.
and you're like, look
Exactly.
at me, I'm delivering the thing that I
I'm giving
asked
you
you.
exactly what you wanted. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
And I do think to the point of, they don't have to be in silos. Social media
Sure.
doesn't have to be in its own world.
Sure.
Email doesn't have to be in its own world. Like, social is a great place to ask your customers, to ask your
Yeah.
audience and to get
Yeah.
feedback. And then taking all of what you're learning there and applying it to your email as well, right? Or applying it to your podcast strategy or applying it to your blog, whatever it is. I think it all needs to kind of like work together holistically.
I think you're right. Oh, I think you're right. If someone's listening to everything that you're saying and saying, I need Kieryn in my life because I need help, how can they find you, follow you, get on your newsletter, all of that good stuff?
Yeah. So, speaking of analytics, I have a
Yes.
really cool analytics tracker and marketing
Cool.
calendar for your email marketing. And you can head to my website. It's right at the bottom of my website. It's called the Inbox to Revenue Toolkit. And that's a great way to start. And it's free. So just,
Cool.
take a look. I provide all the instructions on how to use it, how to read your analytics and how to gain insights from it. And then if you're looking for a little bit more of that like handheld real guidance, I have the Conversion Club, which is an email marketing membership. Essentially, we tackle one topic a month because I think a self-paced course, as much as I love it, some people buy it and then they never think about it ever again, right? With the membership, I really want people to tackle one topic at a time. So, like, let's start with your welcome series. Let's get that set up. And then let's think about building your list, right? And then let's think about your content strategy, then your analytics, how to read that. And so we do one topic a month. And then 2 weeks later, after you've had some time to implement, I have a Q&A session where you just hop on, you ask any questions you have. And then I also have an implementation session where I just help you. Like, if you need emotional support to click those buttons, I'm
Yes.
there.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
That's amazing.
And then actually, helping people show up and like, that's what, 2 hours a month, 2 hours a month. You have 2 hours a month to get your email in order. Right. And all you have to do is just show up and be ready to learn and to implement. So that's my new favorite offering. And then you can always find me on my newsletter, again, on my website or on social media. You can find all those links. Again, one of the biggest things, make it easy to find your links for your
Uh-huh.
newsletter sign up. Don't make the newsletter sign up difficult to find.
Right.
Yeah, so you can find that anywhere that you find me. And I will be sharing all sorts of free email marketing tips throughout the year. I'm currently bi-weekly. I'm hoping to get to weekly, but again, I'm thinking
Fabulous.
about what can I be consistent with, which is bi-weekly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
love that. And will you just plug your URL also for people who are listening to the podcast? Maybe they're driving, they haven't clicked the show notes. Of course, we'll link all of your offers in the show notes as well. But let us know that and your social handles if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it's almost so at ITS, it's almost, and that's two L's. So ALLMOST. So it's almost
Perfect.
on all platforms as well as it's almost.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I know that I have plenty of homework to do after this episode. And I'm sure we'll be connecting because I've got some clients that I got to send your way. So thanks so
Oh,
much for coming on. Guys, if you love the episode, please make sure to send it to a friend, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe anywhere you find your podcasts, and send us an email maybe. Let us know what you thought. That would be great. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, Kieryn.
Thank you so much. Get your email in order, everyone.
Truly, truly. Bye.